Namaste and hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel Hamsavahini Vajra Astra. I'm Ohana. In today's video, I'm quite excited to share my TBR for Jane Austen July 2021. Now, as we all know, Jane Austen July is a month-long readathon where we focus only on reading Jane Austen novels, its retellings, its reinterpretations, as well as everything which affected Jane Austen's life and her writings, as well as modern screen adaptations and direct screen adaptations of Jane Austen. So this readathon was originally hosted by Marissa from Blatantly Bookish and Katie from Books and Things, and this year they have been joined by Claudia from Spinster's Library, and I'm very happy to see the trio host this wonderful and much awaited readathon this year. So I will post a link to the announcement videos in the description box below. So let me just get to the books which I have decided to read for this readathon. So please join me further in this video. So now let's get down to the challenges. Now there are 8 major challenges and 2 books for read-alongs, which will probably be happening in the Goodreads group. Now unfortunately, I will not be able to join in for the read-alongs this year. However, I will be focusing on the 8 major challenges. Now I have the challenges written in front of me for reference, which I'll be reading out from. So the first challenge is to read one of Jane Austen's 6 main novels. So for this, I chose to read Sense and Sensibility. Now Sense and Sensibility is a story which focuses on 2 sisters, Eleanor Dashwood and Marianne Dashwood, and the compelling circumstances they find themselves in, and they have to cope up with the society after their father expires and leaves them penniless with their half-brother John Dashwood to decide what income they should receive every year, which happens to be very frugal because John Dashwood is married to Fanny Dashwood, who is a very calculating woman, and she tries to give a minimal amount to, or agree to give a minimal amount to the three sisters because Eleanor and Marianne have another sister as well who's quite young. But the story mainly focuses on how these two women, who are absolutely different in their personalities, come up in the society and stay afloat. So that will be for the first challenge. Now the second challenge is to read one of Jane Austen's work, which is not one of her 6 main novels. So for this I chose this book, which I recently came across, which is called Lady Susan and Other Works, which has been published by by Wordsworth Classics. Now this has all of Jane Austen's works. So it has Lady Susan, it has Sally Edition, it's got Juvenilia, the history novel which was written by Jane Austen as well during her younger days, and it's got the Watsons as well. So that will be the choice for the second challenge. Now the third challenge is to read a non-fiction work about Jane Austen and about her time period. So as we know, Jane Austen's characters always loved gardening. There was a lot of gardens, a lot of landscaping, as well as long country walks which were taken by all her characters. So I have chosen a recently published book which is called The English Garden Through Jane Austen's Eyes, Between Wilderness and Shrubbery, which has been written by Emanuela Morelli. I just hope I got the pronunciation correct. Now this book explores the work of Jane Austen through gardens and its landscapes, and we take a walk with all the major characters of Jane Austen's novels, who are Eleanor, Fanny, Catherine, Emma and Anna, and we see the entire garden and landscapes through their eyes and the importance that they imparted in making of their decisions within the story. So as we all know, during the Regency era, gardening was a very important and everyday part of country life, as well as life in England in general. So this book explores the importance of gardening as well as the importance of landscaping and country walks during the time period of Jane Austen, and how it affected the writings of Jane Austen. So this is one of the books which I'm quite excited to read. It's been recently published and it's all based on research work. Now there is another book which I've chosen to read, which is Jane Austen's England, A Walking Guide by Anne Mary Edwards. So this explores all the major sites which influenced Jane Austen's works, as well as the walking tours which focus, and also the major, I would say, major houses, for example the Bath House, which did affect her writing. So one of the books which also focuses on the landscape of during Jane Austen's time and how it helped her in her writing. So this will be another book which I'll be reading for this particular challenge. Now the fourth challenge is to read a retelling of any of Jane Austen's major works. So for this I have chosen the recently published Ladies of the House, which has been written by Lauren Edmondson, and this is a retelling of Sense and Sensibility. I just hope you're able to see it, and it deals with the story of Richardsons and Daisy Richardson, who is the daughter of the family, and she loses her father, who was in a scandal, and he faces an untimely death, and there is a revelation in the scandal, and how Daisy Dashwood has to, not Dashwood, Richardson. Daisy Richardson has to cope with all the circumstances that she is going through, and she has to keep a very low profile, which is not of her becoming, as well as how her family has to keep afloat despite the adverse situation. So it's a modern spin on Sense and Sensibility, and this was the book that I chose for the retail. So now the fifth challenge is to read a book by a contemporary of Jane Austen, and for this I chose to read Mary Shelley's lesser-known works called Matilda. Now Matilda was posthumously published, and there's a reason why it was posthumously published. Now, as we all know, Mary Shelley used to write novels which had Gothic overtones, but Matilda is slightly different, and I will be reading from the jacket of this book because it's very interesting. With its shocking theme of father-daughter incest, Mary Shelley's publisher, her father, known for his own subversive books, not only refused to publish Matilda, he refused to return her only copy of the manuscript, and the work was never published in her lifetime. His suppression of this passionate novella is perhaps understandable. Unlike her first book, Frankenstein, written a year earlier, Matilda uses fantasy to study a far more personal reality. It tells the story of a young woman whose mother died in her childbirth, just as Shelley's own mother died after hers, and whose relationship with her bereaved father becomes sexually charged as he conflates her with his lost wife, while she becomes involved with a handsome poet. Yet despite characters clearly based on herself, her father and her husband, the narrator's emotional and relentlessly self-examining voice lifts the story beyond autobiographical resonance into something more transcendental, a driven tale of a brave woman's search for love, atonement, and redemption. So this was published after Mary Shelley expired. So I'm quite excited to read this because it's one of her lesser-known works, and hopefully it doesn't have any Gothic overtones, but definitely it's quite controversial given to the fact that this was supposed to be published in the Regency era. So let's see. That will be my choice for the fifth challenge. Now the sixth challenge is to watch a direct screen adaptation of Jane Austen book. So I have chosen to watch Sense and Sensibility. Of course, it is not the 1990s adaptation, and I will try to choose a different adaptation. Now I'm not too sure about the actors or the actresses, but hopefully I should be able to watch this, enjoy this, and tell you more about it. And the seventh and the last challenge is to watch a modern screen adaptation of any of Jane Austen's novels. So for this I have chosen Sense and Sensibility, which I think I'll be watching here on YouTube, and I will leave that on my playlist, which is called The World of Janite. So in case if anybody wants to watch along and enjoy it, do please check that playlist. I will place a link to that particular playlist in the description box below as well. So those would be the selections which I made for this year's Jane Austen July Readathon. So that's all I have for today. So I hope to join you further in another video, and till then, take care, have a good reading week ahead, and namaste.